say if the FSA has a field history of it, it's got to be within the field. It's paid for at 100% of the cost of the practice. And they are also paying for land out of production due to that practice. And there's different rate amounts for the rental values based on whether the project is a 5-year, 10-year, 15 or 20-year lifespan.
And they'll pay for it the whole time. Huh?
Well, they pay you a lump sum
Okay.
based on the land
the-
rental
okay.
rates for that. So it's like a 5-year span for Washira County would be a 5-year span practice would be $400 an acre.
Okay.
For just that one, for that 5 years, you get it paid up front.
Okay.
And then a 20-year lifespan would be $1,600 an acre.
Okay.
For
But it's a rental?
It's
Or is it
rental
just based
value,
on
but it's
rental
what
value?
the
Okay.
what the yes,
Okay,
where
what
the
value.
conservation.
Yeah.
So if you put in a grass waterway that's 1.5 acres, of the field, then you would get the grass waterway paid for at 100%, and then the land rental rate
compensation.
value
Mhm.
for
Okay.
that practice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually really, and all we do is the technical assistance. We would pass this producer along they would contract with Fox Wolf Watershed, and all the money, nothing would come through the county. It would just be us kind of handing off design projects for our landowners or farmers.
And you're like targeting areas for that then?
It's the Fox Wolf watershed. So the upper Fox Wolf Basin
Yeah.
is priority, but it is anywhere in the county.
So anybody who does it up there puts in a grass waterway or whatever would be.
Yep,
Okay.
it would, yep.
Mhm.
And so
And this is federal funding?
this is federal
So
funding.
if stuff's already enrolled in programs, it's ineligible for this, I'm guessing.
I don't think so. It depends on the program, I guess, or maybe what's going on, but it would be it'd be an implemented practice outside of any other program. So I don't think if that field was enrolled in CSP, I don't know. I mean, if you have something we can, talk about it, but yeah, I don't think that would be as big of
And it's new practices?
new practices.
Okay.
Right. Yep. And it's nothing, no kind of soft practices. It's, let's see here, conservation cover. So that would be like prairie plantings, field borders, filter strips, tree and shrub establishment. Those are kind of the ecosystem services. And then the engineered ones are sediment basins, critical area plantings, grade stabilization structures, grass waterways, lined waterways, some other open channel, subsurface drains, underground outlets, water and sediment control basins, and then wetland restorations.
So when stuff like this opens up, how do you advertise that
That's
to the
what I was
farmers?
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna go about doing a program we've never had anything like this before. Usually we kind of target farmers or producers for a grant, like we did with the previous one. Like, hey, we have these landowners, let's submit a grant for them. But this is, I don't
like both Farm Bureau and maybe like he's going to do a beef thing.
Oh, yeah,
You
the
know,
beef workshops.
Beef workshops and things like
Yeah,
that.
the
If we just
workshops.
mention it to them, maybe they could mention it. If you're thinking
right,
about it,
and
'cause-
getting it in, Farm Bureau newsletter.
yeah, or
that
even
goes
at
out
the
to a lot
meeting.
of-
Yeah,
the
and
county
then
or-
if somebody want to come to the meeting and explain it, otherwise, yeah, I would say newsletter or newspaper article. There's a lot of farmers that read. that.
Yeah,
I
and
think it's
typically
still-
we try to get stuff like
Yeah.
this in
Sure, yeah.
Resort or somewhere.
But
a
the
little
problem
blip about
is
it, but
when you read through it, a lot of times you don't understand whether or not that's something pertinent to what you can apply for
right.
and what kind of hoops you have to jump through. But I like the idea of going to workshops.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that Fox Wolf Watershed at the last meeting, they said that they were going to be producing or preparing for us kind of news releases, press releases,
Sure.
PSAs, that type of thing. letters that can go out, it's so new. Everything is kind of still being worked on. So we
And
just,
yeah, so they're doing some of the advertising, or they're
Okay.
doing the promotional materials that they're gonna get to us too. But
right.
I mean, this just came out a couple weeks ago. We had our kind of kickoff meeting for it.
Yep.
And it's the same counties, the 8 counties that was in the Climate Smart in the
That's a
original.
2-year deal.
This is through
Sounds like 20
28.
years.
28.
It's through 28. They're asking for an extension. It hasn't been received yet. They did the same thing with Climate Smart because the clock had started ticking, and yet, the end clock was always fixed,
Right.
and it still is. I think they're asking for a 1-year extension, but at this point in time, it's right now. I think it was August of 28, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. And it's 3.2 million, but it's kind of first come, first serve.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be other counties that have some projects for
Sure,
it.
oh,
I don't
sure
know
there
how.
would be.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get like a list of things, even like we could just, when you see somebody, you
Yep, I can get those, promotion materials. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get them out to you guys
Mhm.
at least. But yeah, there is a lot of
I
the federal side of things through you kind of know how federal programs work with all the cultural resources, and
Right.
we have to go through and do
Yeah.
all that
Right.
stuff for it. But I think Foxwolf might have a streamlined version for us to do too. So
The other one, and it might be, I don't know if it's even appropriate, is rural insurance goes out and talks to a lot of farmers.
Mhm.
If you had like a handout, you can give it to them to pass out when they do meet with farmers. And they have I think they get a pretty good idea where farms are sitting in terms of barely making it, or
Yeah.
being
They-
able to try, or whatever.
If they're looking
if
to
you
do
did
some
something, I mean, that
conservation
might be
stuff.
a way to reach farmers that aren't in Farm Bureau necessarily, but
Right.
maybe
harder to
still get
reach.
the rural
Yeah.
insurance that are harder to reach. I don't know if that's even appropriate or whatever, but I'm just trying to think of kind of out of the box stuff in order.
Right.
Because I feel like sometimes sitting on a committee like this, we're at a disadvantage as farmers because we hear about this, and even like FSA stuff coming out, and it's like, you either want to jump on it or you think, well, that's not going to work for me or whatever. But I feel like being on a committee like this, I get to hear about these things, whereas a lot of farmers don't. And that's partly their own fault, but it's also just partly, feeling like, oh, this program doesn't apply to me.
Right.
So, but crop insurance agents are another one that are
Oh, yeah.
excellent, because I've had a crop insurance agent call and say, hey, you better apply for this program. And I'm like, I don't think I'm eligible. They're like, oh, yes, you are. You better apply.
Well, call and find out if you're
Yeah.
eligible.
Or even
But-
like any place in sales, like if
Yeah,
you mentioned it, I was thinking
Or
myself,
co-ops or
when I
whatever.
talk
Yeah.
to my seed person, I'll
Yeah.
mention to her that, that's
there's-
available and stuff.
Yeah.
Cause that's,
Word of
any,
mouth.
any
is
way to
kinda
get
how
out there,
it-
that helps a
stuff
lot.
Yeah.
You bet.
goes.
Yep.
So other than that, the other grant, we're getting started on that this spring, signing cost share agreements, and we're starting to meet with Jason and Shelley to finalize everything and get that going. Daniel Miller. It's been a while since we met about him. John's been more involved. We've kind of met and talked about it, but we did. Actually, I just got the final copy. I think you guys might have got a copy of it too. I got a
Yep.
final one signed by all parties from Ruth yesterday, I think. But that kind of lays out kind of almost exactly what we were looking for from them. They would just,
Came around to it.
yeah, they need a little pressure to say, okay, we're going to do this and get this written down. So I guess I'm
I think too,
pretty
they,
happy with what their plan is.
they had gotten some cost estimates from people who are pretty high. I don't know where they got those from, but those I think kind of made them not want to do it. But now they've got a more
Yep.
financial, it can work for them, I think, and everybody should be happy when they're done, hopefully.
Yeah.
As opposed to the fine, you mean?
What's it?
As opposed to the fine.
The fine, but I mean, just even like engineering firm,
Mhm.
they had thrown out like 25,000, and I think they found one.
They were throwing on a lot of numbers.
$3,000 to
that I don't know
$4,000,
how much
which is a
were,
lot
you
more
know, but
economical. Yeah, I don't know where they got it from, but anyway,
anyway, that should be.
should
I mean,
be-
it's resolved for now until this fall when
Right.
you know we'll keep tabs on that and track that.
Mhm.
That was in a- so.
What else? Pine Breeze Dairy, we just issued them a permit, a waste storage permit also for modifications to their irrigating their feed pad runoff instead of land applying that. And I can't remember if I talked about this last meeting in February. The Wisconsin Land and Water Middle School camp is in Washington County this year at Camp Dakota. And that's the 6th through 8th graders. So we're gonna be helping out with that since it's right next door. We're gonna be helping out with that, and I got fisheries people from DNR and then the NRCS people lined up from our field days to come one day and give presentations for that middle school camp.
And this is different than the conservation camp, how?
Then our field days.
Yeah.
This is it's like a 3-day event. It's actually a camp, so they go there and stay
stay
for
there.
3 days.
Is that like
for
a
3
weekend
nights?
or during the week?
It is. They come on a Sunday night and they
15th
leave
through
on
the
a
18th?
Wednesday after lunch.
Okay.
And so it's from kids from all around the state. It's how much? 250.
Theirs is 350. The
Hmm.
high school is 450.
Okay, yeah. So,
So they
it's,
got high school too?
But we have a
yeah. High school is in the Discovery Center up in Vilas County.
Oh, okay.
This was middle school camp was historically in Wisconsin Dells for a number of years, and there was issues with those camps not having camp counselors. So in above the instruction, they need to provide the counselors to stay with them and everything. And at Camp Lakota, they kind of provide everything, and then we kind of just step in with the different presentations and activities and stuff. So
And is there ever any information about agriculture in these camps?
there hopefully will be from NRCS this year.
Okay.
That it's a lot of kind of basic stuff. I think they're doing some like nature walks, composting, compass.
Conservation, they had a lot on soil,
Mhm.
you know.
Yep,
a lot of-
and I mean that's the ag part there.
Mhm.
That the camp they do a bit on the agriculture. The NRCS does,
Sure.
but yeah. And lastly here, the DNR is working on a NPRA, they're calling it. It's an NR 151 progress and resource analysis. So what they did is they picked random sites throughout the state and want land conservation to do NR 151 assessments on those sites. There's both cropping sites or like just cropland field sites, and then there's livestock sites like a barnyard area to be evaluated.
Mhm.
So we got our list, and I think we got 6 field location ones and 3 livestock ones to do. Not sure how that's going to go yet. There's some counties that have like over 60 sites. So it's not really dispersed evenly. How they kind of said each county is going to have about 10 sites to, and then we're going to come up with a final report and stuff. And they were supposed to be random sites. And one of our livestock sites, I can't remember his name. We've just been looking at it and did a drive-by, but it's out in West Bloomfield. And there was actually, right when I Googled his name, it came up that him and the county highway department had a lawsuit. He sued them back in 2018. They had with the county highway I going in and the bridge there and some fence lines. And it was it didn't seem very encouraging to me to go out to visit this farmer. And he does have,
You'll be excited to see a county.
Don't say I'm coming from the counties.
Yeah.
and it seems like they're like truckers. by
Oh.
the site and everything,
Sure.
but they have livestock, and they have a big pasture fenced in, and it's right. Alder Creek runs right through it, so the cattle are just in Alder Creek, and I mean it's something that we didn't really know about or notice or never had a complaint or anything about. So that's an issue that's going to have to be addressed at some time. I don't know how I'm going to approach that. I might ask the DNR for some assistance in our non-point. Casey might help me out because, especially with the county, him having probably not
The best.
the best relationship
relationship.
or thoughts of the county, but
Talk to Ruth first, maybe.
yeah. So
So what is the purpose then? Just
the purpose of this, I think, is to assess kind of how many farms are in compliance with the NR 151 performance standards throughout the state. And they're looking at big, the whole
Yes.
and kind of get an average. And I don't know if they're going to use it for, hey, this is how many farms out of this many we have out of compliance. This is how many farms we have. I don't know if it's going to be used to try and get more staffing dollars or more practice dollars, or I don't know what.
regulations? I mean, let's be
That's-
realistic.
And this is, this NR 151, this isn't anything new. I mean, we've been doing this as a county land conservation department for since the NR 151, performance standards came out before my time. So we have hundreds of NR 151 progress reports from different farms and landowners around and stuff. So, but yeah, more to come on that. So, that's about all I got.
Okay. Given the fact that yesterday was the last day of the month for March, I don't have comparison numbers to give you. I will forward those to everyone as I always do, under separate cover. The only thing I wanted to bring up too, last month, the Planning and Zoning Committee reviewed and approved this year's batch of text amendments. It's not really a Louis issue, but it does affect possibly land and water in terms of water quality. We did tighten up the conditional use provisions within our code. And this is in large point based upon what happened with Project Harmony. That, if you recall, Project Harmony is a motel hotel development that was kind of forced down our throats by the circuit court. But it's that development, motel hotel development on Long Lake. What we're hoping is that with the new language that we put and the new requirements that we put in the conditional use, Ruth and I worked very diligently on it. We're hoping that we can tighten the screws, so to speak. We're going to tie it to comprehensive plans of both the towns and the county. And then also that the development has to be, not only if it's a conditional use within that district, it has to be in the same scope and scale as surrounding land uses. Mm-hmm. The judge had made several comments to us at the time of the hearing that if we had language like that in our code, then possibly, because that was one way that we denied it or we had recommended for denial, is the fact that it was completely out of scope and scale with surrounding land uses. Given the fact we had nothing in our codes, the fact that El Monte Hotel was listed as a conditional use, it was awarded, to the applicant. So we'll see where that takes us. I'm hoping that we don't have another situation like this. Another reason why I'm not a huge fan of spot zoning. I would rather see, and I know, Robert, you and I have worked, in the town aspect, is that if there's a use that comes in that is not really conducive to that area, but yet in the Amish, with their stores and home-based businesses and stuff like that, we've listed those as an unlisted conditional use within that district. And the reason for that is should it fail and go by the wayside, the property reverts back to the original zoning. When you have spot zoning and you have conditional, let's just say commercial zoning, that use disappears, such as in that instance, it was a little feed store or bait shop back in the 50s. We're left with this commercial zoning, and that opens that property up to everything within our code. So we'll see where that takes us. The other thing that we're requiring is that any applicant will have to be required to submit detailed analysis, an economic development analysis. They'll have to, property assessment analysis, because I think we could have shown that that property being a motel hotel would not be conducive to surrounding land uses and could be detrimental to the impact in terms of the finances and economic stability of that area. So we'll see where that takes us. The other one, too, data centers. Given the onslaught of the data centers, we have nothing in our codes. We had no definition of a data center and nowhere to put them. So we thought it best, based upon where every other county in the state is putting these, we did provide a definition for a data center, large and or small, as long as it's a building that's, housing information, using computers, things like that. It would be classified as a data center, and we would only allow those as a conditional use in what we've classified as an MI, or an intensive manufacturing district. And now an intensive manufacturing district, you look at the types of uses there. It's uses that typically expend a lot of water, they a lot of noise, pollution, that type of thing. Because I know there was question, and we went out and looked at a Bitcoin mining facility. Even though it's very small, it in essence is a small little data center. Mm-hmm. And I know towns, I've heard it now from Gary Waleko and others, they don't want to see these types of uses in the town. Just they require a ton of energy. There's the water aspect, for cooling. I think some of these centers, though, are now doing internal loop systems, mm-hmm. so there won't be the expense of water. But this way, we've at least classified them, and it gives us a little bit more leverage in terms of where we can cite these types of uses in the future. So that's just a little heads up that had to do with the text amendments. And outside of that, everything else pretty quiet. Haven't heard anything from any lake associations or anything like that of upcoming Watershed Lakes Council, I think, too, has been pretty quiet. So, but that's all I have.
Just a question: when the county does things like this, where they're updating their zoning code, do you guys have to have that approved by anybody else, like on a state level or anything?
Well, we send it to the DNR. We send it to basically all the regulatory agencies. We send it to all the towns. So, and then any comments obviously are read at the night of the meeting, or adjustments are made accordingly. I haven't heard anything back from
But it doesn't
any
have
agency.
to be approved by anybody. So what a county determines is what it determines.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It goes, I think it goes next month. It goes before the county board.
Got it. Yeah.
But yes, P&Z, we hold a public hearing. We publish, 2-week publish in the paper. So it is an open meeting where people can come and comment. It's sent out to all the associations, lake associations, Watershed Lakes Council. And
So everybody can comment on it, but it's not like you need to have it approved other than
Correct.
by the county board.
The statute is just, it has to go before P&Z and then county board.
Okay. Excuse.
Yep. That's all I've got.
Okay. Financial, anything else, or does that cover that?
Yep.
Egg.
The Farmers Bridge stuff is going on. I think it's a due date's coming up for Farmer Bridge assistance for the corn and soybeans is coming up. As I understand it, people are pretty satisfied with how it's working out. If they're having problems getting online, they're going into the FSA office and getting that done. There's supposed to be another part of this coming out for specialty crops, and it was supposed to have been released by the end of March, but of course, nothing's been done yet. So,
Who would
kind of
fall in
waiting on
that,
it.
Sarah?
Huh?
Who would fall in that in our area? Would that be
Any vegetables?
any vegetable growers? Okay.
cranberry
Oh,
growers,
that's good. At
Christmas
least
tree
it-
growers,
Yeah.
any kind of specialty crop.
Okay. All right. Good.
So that should be coming out. Otherwise, they're just trying to keep on top of, FSA is just trying to keep on top of all the different little programs that are coming out and everything else. So
Okay. Go ahead, Dave. You got to take over since you're here.
All right.
Work the lakes.
Todd, did you say you had anything financial?
No, the only thing that, I can report is just based upon what I've seen of permits and everything that are coming in, we are blowing off the numbers. I mean, we're blowing out of the window the numbers from last year. So, which is going to obviously add to our revenue again. Yeah, public hearings, sanitary permits, and land use permits. Once again, and I've talked about this at my annual report. The numbers so far for the first 3 months have surpassed numbers from last year, which were record numbers.
Mhm.
So, and it's so early in the budget. Just we haven't expended any money, haven't received any grant money or anything, but revenue so far is exceeding where we were at last year.
Excellent. Return a lot more money to the bottom line, please.
Yeah.
All right, no unfinished business. Going on to new business, information, possible action on 2027 WRM staffing grant.
It's just our annual staffing grant that we do every year that just gives our base salaries and our operating costs and request how much money we want for project funds.
And they did get fully funded, didn't they, last year?
Last year, yeah, and
That was the first time.
first time in a long time
Mm-hmm.
since it was fully funded, and that's the first, second, and third position paid. So first position at 100%, the second position at 70%, and then the third at 50%. Ideally, is to fund everyone at then that 50%. The fourth and thereafter, but
Mhm.
they got the top three positions yet in this last budget. So, and then $50,000 for structural funds, and then $40,000 for our seg funds or our soft practices, the nutrient management, cover crops, tillage practices, and that. So this will be
All right,
signed by Dave.
do we need
We have
motion?
to have a motion
Oh,
Motion
to accept it.
to accept this? All right, do we have a second?
I'll sec, oh, go
Okay,
ahead.
go ahead.
I'll second that, yeah.
All right, any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none. All right, then we'll move on to information, possible action on Washara County Land and Water Resource Management Plan 5-year review. Question.
okay. So our land and water plan gets updated every 10 years. Every 5 years, it just goes through a review. And the board, these are 4 questions that are required for the review in 5 years. So I just completed the 5 questions, and then we had to complete our work plan with accomplishments for 2025, which I think was in there, and then our work plan for 2026. And all this is required for the update in June. So me and Dave are going down to the DACAB Land and Water, or the DACAB, Land and Water board meeting in June to answer questions that they have for us.
Sure.
To get grilled.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. I mean, this goes over what we've done the last 5 years. And I don't really need to read through it all. You guys have a copy of it. You can read through it and reach out if you have any questions or anything too. But
Yeah, we don't need any action on that. do we?
you need to sign it. Well, it says county conservationist here, but when I talked to the DACAP on the phone, she had you sign it, or that's what she said. So
Okay.
there would probably need to
So
be
then we do the motion to accept.
Well, also move. If you need one.
Sarah will?
Yeah.
All right, do we have a second? Second. Second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And discussion, possible action on filling LCD tech position.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
so I think you probably told them already, Sam is
Yes.
leaving. Yep.
Some knew, some didn't, but yep.
Yeah, so he is done, well, tomorrow is actually his last
Right.
day. And so obviously we know where we're at with the overall Washara County budget, that from 26 to 27, we are looking at cutting approximately $1 million out of that, at minimum $500,000 based on the executive committee's direction. So as we have been doing over the last year and a half, we are taking a hard look at any vacancy that comes up, any retirement or vacancy for any reason. As county administrator, I have authority to refill positions that have been approved by the board to be on our org chart. But with the directive to cut $1 million from the budget, we have to come back to the committee to take a hard look at some of these positions when we're filling them, to determine if the committee has an appetite for filling these positions, maintaining them, or if we need to look at a different structure. So I sat down, I think last week with Todd and Josh to review what this would look like if we wouldn't fill it, and to evaluate the need for filling it. I'll let them talk in further detail, but ultimately it comes down to services, which is something that I need direction from the board on. The board's job is to determine what services we offer and what level we offer them at. So if we are getting into a point, which is really where we're at with the budget, we are looking at potentially reducing some services or eliminating and determining which ones we really need and which ones we can do without. We have countywide, we have really tightened things in a lot of areas. Yes, there are some things we can still look at, but to get $1 million out of the budget, we're not going to be able to do that until we look at some levels of services. So obviously from 25 to 26 budget, we did lose about 11 positions countywide. And we did that without reducing services. But I don't anticipate being able to do that for 2027. So looking at this position in particular, the conversation I had with Josh and Todd is essentially not filling this position would mean that we are reducing some level of services we're offering to our constituents. They can speak to the details on that, but you as the board have to be the ones to determine, is this a service that we need in Waushara County and we need to prioritize in this budget or not?
And if I may, I'm going to speak obviously in defense of keeping the position. As you guys know, Sam and Kaylee, each one of those individuals, they maintain a completely distinct set of skills. And go back also, their educational and background experiences are completely different. We've been very fortunate. Kaylee is our agronomist who works primarily with field cropping and practices. Sam's a hydrologist, and that works with stormwater management, erosion control, and many of our cost share programs. I know there's been talk about possibly, dispersing some of their responsibilities, giving them to others. Sam has CAD capabilities, understands CAD, operates, designs, and that CAD, once again, completely different, background, and something that does require an education to understand the movement of water, understand grading, the impact that it's going to have, that type of thing. I went and compared us to just other counties from Wapaka, Marquette, Portage, Juneau, Wood, Adams, and Outagamie. At a minimum, each county maintains a county conservationist and at least 2 techs. And typically when you look at those, it's a hydrologist and an agronomist. So very much in line with what we maintain. I then looked at, just to see exactly what type of impact Sam has had just since he's been with us. Last year alone, Sam was responsible for 11 stormwater plans, 1 re-veg plan, 131 erosion control plans. He has assisted my zoning guys on dozens of on-sites dealing with grading and erosion control. And he's also designed 2 manure storage pits. And as I stated before, he also maintains that CAD capability. He has brought in direct revenue of $17,225. That isn't even his primary responsibility with the department.
And how does he bring that direct revenue in?
By, like I say, preparing the stormwater plans,
So
preparing.
people have to pay for that.
Correct,
Okay.
if they pay for that service. Keep in mind that what we charge is pennies on the
I
dollar
understand.
compared to an engineer.
Yeah.
Yep, and you're right. I mean, the direct revenue, it's tech services, erosion control, UDC erosion control, re-veg plans, and then we go back out and we do erosion control reinspection services. Indirect costs, he has been involved and assisted in numerous water quality, cost share projects. As you are aware, I think, what was it last year, we received $68,500 from DATCAP for hard practices and soft practices. He was responsible for assisting in 7 landowner projects ranging from wetland scrapes, shoreland protection, and prairie restorations. It's just the loss of Sam would put an undue strain upon the department, and I think also the community, and especially now given the fact that we have just received 2 huge grants. Once again, at the direction of the county board, let's reach out, let's get more grants. We just received the Great Lakes grant, $119,000 worth, and now up to possibly $533,000 with the AMP. We're going to need people out there selling these projects and then assisting in the development of these projects. And now, well, I know the technical services of AMP, we're not administering that. However, we can offer, professional engineering and that responsibilities. So we can get paid for those types of services. Once again, we're hoping when we interview, and we'd like to be able to interview for the position, or at least, send out the job description. We're hoping to get a person just like Sam. I think we're in a fortunate time period here because we're facing graduation. That's where we got Sam and Kaylee right out of Stevens Point. We have graduation coming up, and then Josh and I just had a conversation too about a number of applicants that possibly could be out there in the field. And that was based upon the
Just federal conservation funding, with all the positions that kind of have been cut through, NRCS and Pheasants Forever and kind of all that intern positions and stuff that. So I'm thinking there's a better candidate, or not a better, but a bigger candidate pool than we saw 2 years ago too.
Yeah. So our position, obviously, we'd like to retain the position if at all possible. We always know that once a position is lost, very difficult, to get that position back. And it has always been, and I'm in awe. I really am. I've been here now for almost 9 years, and to watch the involvement that we now have out in the field, and watching Kaylee and Sam, taking it as their own and literally going out and selling the county, selling our practices to farmers, and that, which is unique. I think we've taken a much more active role, and I'd like to continue to see us do that.
If you were turned down, what impact would that have on what you usually turn back into the general fund? Does it heavily, is it lopsided?
Well, the direct revenue impact could be possibly about 17 grand. The other thing too is it could impact potential land use permit, just in terms of getting those out. As it is, I have 3 people that typically, and myself included, that we go out and do on-sites for land use permits. Anytime somebody is working shoreland, we require an on-site. Right now, with 3 people, including myself, if needed, we're about a month out. And if some of that work gets dispersed, you're telling a homeowner that has got a construction company or a crew ready to go that, you could possibly be delayed a month.
A lot of unhappy campers.
Correct. And it's just because we're trying to maintain, the present workload and the present output, our productivity. I'm afraid our productivity would definitely hurt.
Sure.
And we'd be forcing some undue costs onto, farmers and landowners that they're going to have to go out now and seek an engineering firm that could cost them 3-4 times what we would charge them for that same practice.
Could I ask, because this is going to be a discussion for all over the county, not just you guys. Is there anybody out there that can do like an independent, meaning we wouldn't have to have them as an employee. We could bring them in when we need a contract. Yeah, like a contracted kind of thing. Because we've looked at that in different places, and it works because then you don't have all the other costs that come with an employee. The other thing, I guess, I would just put out there too is, we can all, we're going to be facing quite a budget hit here, one way or another, because I don't think the appetite is to take another $1 million out, and that's a starting point for this year. And that's if nothing changes. I would hate to see you go out and find somebody, and then we get to budget time and say, you know what, we've got to cut, because it's going to be probably, if it comes down to attrition, I'm guessing it would be something like, well, listen, every single one's going to have to take this much of their salaried positions or whatever, their employees and say, we've got to cut this much from it, either one way or another, either less money or whatever. I guess that's my only concern is I hate to see someone get hired and then 4 months later say, you know what? That's my only concern. So I don't know if it's a kind of thing that could be held off until our next budget to see how that all comes out. Because there's a lot of factors that are going to change that too. Maybe you get the right board in here and they'll say, you know what? It's, let's take the money out, not that this isn't an additional employee, it's an employee you already have. And I guess that ultimately comes down to you three have to determine, who's going to be here and who's not, what kind of positions you have. But I guess that's my biggest concern is I hate to see, I'd like to look at other alternatives before we hire somebody. If there is a possibility of, contracting somebody when we need them or what, just because we got to look at all avenues. I guess that's my thought with our budget.
The only thing that concerns me about, hiring somebody out is that, Sam can go out on a fly.
Right.
Somebody comes in here, we've got the availability. He can go out and assist us on sites, and believe me, we get calls all the time. Somebody planning a development, but we know that their property is susceptible to erosion.
Sure.
So we typically send Sam out to give us, give the homeowner advice.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what that's going to look like when you're contracting with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
their availability. I don't think we've ever really looked at that.
Yeah.
But-
Maybe even could we give it a month to look at that?
Well, let me ask you this. Sam is budgeted for, that position was budgeted for 26.
Mhm.
I guess that's up if that's the directive that you guys want to give us.
I'm just trying to think outside the box. a
So
little bit.
Todd, we talk about, here we are in a pristine, we have pristine lakes in our county. And you've repeatedly said that a major portion of what Sam does is erosion control, something that is very critical to water quality, not just for our lakes, but also for the whole system of lakes. How much impact would there be to erosion control standards
Well,
maintained in the county?
and Dave, we've seen how many variances come before, the Board of Adjustments. Everybody now is building out their house, their properties.
Maximizing
They're
their-
maximizing to the nth degree, typically requiring stormwater management.
Yeah.
Sam is that expert that we can go to
Yeah.
where he can literally design, and he just did it for a gentleman that came through for a variance, Frank Seck, down there on Long Lake, or I'm sorry, on Big Silver. But, that person sat down with Sam and Sam designed a system for him for pervious pavers, did all the stormwater calculations. We don't have that expertise to do that. Yes, I would have to hire an engineering firm now, or that individual would have to hire an engineering firm, which would put, a lot more money onto that cost of that project.
Mhm.
Something that we offered and literally for nothing. Or I should say $75, which
And
is
so
literally
even
nothing.
at that, without somebody who's knowledgeable or versed in that, because the pervious surface areas have become critical. They're part of our code now, so they have to be maintained. Obviously, I know you guys can do calculations, and I know Kyle can for sure. But without that expertise, is there going to be? I'm not just thinking like short term, financial issues. I'm thinking long term quality of Waushara County issues when it comes to a position like Sam's. I just see erosion control as just so unbelievably critical for all construction, but most of the big construction that we see is on the lakes, where they're most susceptible to issues.
Who was our person before Sam?
It was John Olson.
John.
Did a lot of the design.
Okay. I didn't know if he was that.
And that's the from my point, my perspective. I mean, Todd has a lot of, the zoning side of what Sam does, but just the land conservation side of working on farm with,
Mhm.
those farmers and, doing those engineered projects. I mean, if we get into this, this AMP funding, and we had an employee that could, do design work, that we could charge for that work too, outside of this grant. That's a reimbursable for the land for the farmer that's installing the practice. Something that we don't have our hands in it financially, but we can get paid for doing the work. This is one of those instances where we could charge. But just, and not even that, that some of that income, but just with these grants and money we're getting, if you have money and you don't have anyone to implement the practices on the ground, it's,
Mhm.
it's not really money that you can spend, and it's very,
Or you'd have to spend it another way, like if you had a contractor or somebody.
and we went out to a site yesterday and it's a big kind of gully waterway where he wants to do something. It's like, okay, well, let's see what happens here.
Yep.
Whether that's something that we can tackle or he would have to go somewhere else to get that, assistance. So there definitely would be, cuts to, those farmers that use our services as far as, technical assistance and design work for any practices. It would, I don't see, I don't have a clear picture on what it's going to look like yet. If we didn't get that tech position, if we don't get it renewed, but there's a lot of money out there that can do good in our county. We just need, some help, doing it too. So
The impact of Sam was the 17.
That was direct off of
The
things
money
that
coming in.
He's
Right.
not even,
But
that's not
that's
even
kinda
his
how we gotta
primary
look at stuff, too,
responsibility.
is-
Right.
If a large portion of his job is working with the lakes, can the lake associations kick anything in?
They won't.
They will.
Yeah.
Well, or Fox Wolf too.
I mean,
When you
if-
said that, I
if you
thought
start
of them
saying-
maybe.
If you start saying, hey, we're not gonna have this service available
But-
anymore, you guys are gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the Fox Wolf Watershed Alliance, you have to remember they
They
six
got
other
away
counties,
with it. Yeah.
6 other counties, and their
Right.
primary responsibility is the watershed.
Right.
They're
But the erosion would affect that too. I mean-
well, yeah, but it's Kettle Lakes and
Right,
things
right,
like that
yeah,
for the most
yeah.
part. But it's having that person here that when somebody comes in and they need to sit down with Josh and Sam and myself and go over a potential project.
Mhm.
Sam literally will run numbers and things like that. And what's the grass waterway? We're talking about doing a grass waterway, which he has extensive experience in. And now we're all going to have to learn, how to do that and get that practice going on the field.
And that, I guess, was another thought too. How far away would someone like Kaylee be from being able to get that kind of training? Could maybe that would be more something where we ought to look to add that to her responsibilities.
I mean, it's just like taking, someone and giving them a whole nother job too. It's
Right.
even if you kind of split up responsibilities, you're still doing the same amount of,
Yeah, but
work,
but that's
you know,
that's what we're going to be tasked with. I mean, administration, they're doing that too. I don't. I mean, I wish it was a rosier picture, but it just isn't. From our standpoint, I guess. I mean, I can see he does some good and stuff like that, but it's just like, I don't know where we're going to turn. My biggest concern is to hire someone and then turn right around and say, you know what, we just can't afford to keep you.
at least we would have services for this year.
They would have services, right? You're
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
yeah,
I-
you're right.
Would you rather face that, cross that bridge when we get to it? So fill the position if we can, and because who knows what happens between now and then.
Right. And ultimately,
And-
too, at that point, it would be their budget to say, well, we want to keep the hydrologist, maybe we're going to get rid of somebody else or somebody. That's,
Or
Ultimately,
increased
don't you
revenue.
see it that's coming?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's why we're having the conversation now, is because I agree. I don't want to bring somebody on and then a few months later turn around and say, no, we can't sustain this. So we're looking at everything critically as they come up. Because like I said, I'm not picking on land conservation by any means. We're looking critically at all roles that come up. And I would much rather choose to not fill a position than to have somebody out of a job come November. Obviously, like I've said, my job is to take all of the pieces that you guys have said, these are the things that are important, put them in together into the big picture of the puzzle for the entire budget. But in order to do that, I have to know what the critical pieces are. For years, we've been saying, well, we want all of this, right? Like something has to give because it's not all going to fit together when we have to take $1 million out of there. So I'm not saying that this is the thing that we have to take out, but I'm asking for the conversation now so that we don't get to, like you said, November and maybe the route is an LTE then, if that's something we're considering. That is challenging to fill. We've also talked about potentially like an intern type, and again, that doesn't necessarily meet the need of what we're looking for. I appreciate the conversation of talking about the different options so that we're putting everything on the table. But again, I'm not telling you one way or the other. I guess ultimately, I look at it as a service that we have to determine, is this an essential service that we're providing or not? I know that we have to look at, the bottom dollar and the bottom line, but we also have to be mindful that there are many positions within this county organization that bring in zero revenue. It's the nature of county services of what we provide. I look at the clerk's office, I'm just throwing off a number off the top of my head, but they have a $300,000 budget. It's all tax levy. They don't bring in revenues. They provide election services. They're required by statute. There are things we're required to do that don't have that offsetting revenue. So while that is certainly a plus, and that's a good thing, I'm not refuting that at all. It can't simply be like, well, this doesn't bring in enough money, so it's not worth it, because there are so many services that we provide that are solely tax levy positions. So we do have to be mindful of that. But we also have to be mindful that there is only so much tax levy to disperse to all of these critical services. So we have to really look at, what do we as a board, what do you guys as a board say, these are the essentials that we have to include?
Need a motion, Mr. Chair?
Robert?
I will make the motion that we keep things as is till push comes to shove. If we have to, then we have to, but it is bringing in revenue. And if you start putting more on the people that are here pretty soon, they're gonna get burned out. Then you're gonna be looking for more people with no money available. So I will make a motion that we keep it until doomsday, if you want to call it that.
Beth, you got that motion?
I know it.
In so many words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Is that gonna make it a
Especially
doomsday?
doomsday part. And then do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Any additional conversation?
The only thing I'm going to say is I am going to vote against it, but the reason is, and I would table it if you'd want to, because I would like to see what LTE, if there is anything out there that could do a contract, because I think that could fill both positions until we know what our budget's going to be. So that's I just want to be clear. That's why I am going to vote against it. It's not that I don't think we need the position. I don't know. I don't know how important it is. I'm just think we got to explore other ways before we fill it. So.
Any other discussion?
Ted, are you able to get down more to the nitty gritty about what kind of money he either brings in or cost saves our county, so that, because I'm sure you said 17,000, that's just a real obvious way to do it, but are there some smaller, less obvious things that he's doing that would show the county board this is really the kind of money that's happening? Or
When we go out for on-sites, for example, we charge $150 for that. And sometimes multiple people go out there. So, you look at it, I have 2 staff people going out to help an individual. That's part of the services that we provide. And we're getting great, reviews and that based upon the services that we do provide for our people. So there's a lot of things that Sam does. That's just part of the day. And that I don't know how to put a dollar value on that other than I could say $75 per on-site, or something to that effect, which would add more money to that number I gave you. But that there's things that he does in the day, just answering phone calls,
Right, I understand.
Yeah,
You can't like
correct.
go down to the penny ante, but I just thought if there were some other things. I guess the only other question I had is, does he also do any kind of like verification or enforcement, for lack of a better term? Like if somebody's violating something, does he do anything in that area too? Does he go out and say, hey, this is not right, or we need to
Daniel.
follow up?
He was integral with Daniel Miller.
Side of it,
Yeah. I mean, so obviously there's other value to this position than
Correct.
just helping folks out to establish a plan.
Yeah, he's the one, he reviews the engineering side of the
Sure.
manure storage,
Right.
facilities and stuff.
And if you didn't have that, would the county have to contract that out?
The individual would have to
The
contract it out.
individual would have to. pay
Well,
for
we
it,
still
but-
review,
but then-
engineered designs, but that would, I don't know how we would look at that yet. We do have, DACAP engineers, possibly if it was a funded project, that would be an avenue. I'm not sure if, an unfunded project that they would step in for us, possibly. I mean, we have good relationship, that could be the case. So unknowns, if no replacement, it would be, kind of work through it and see where we're at.
Thomas, did you?
My main concern is, like, we had talked briefly about training up Kaylee to do kind of both positions, and there's a lot of what Sam does, and I don't know him really well. I talked to him at when we had that meeting at like Family Farms, and he seems I knew little bits and pieces. He connected a lot of dots for me. But for like to teach Kaylee suddenly from what she does to like fluid dynamics and the erosion potential of certain types of soil, and what happens with water hits an obstruction and things like that. And that's like a huge science by itself. And I think we do want to keep somebody in that niche somehow. And so that's why I kind of agreed to go along with, just keeping things the way they are as long as we can until we figure something else out. I mean, if I'm out in left field here to say so, I mean, this is all kind of new to me. So, I mean, that would be my thinking on it.
And that's typically, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but that's typically when you look at the makeup and composition of all the other counties. They typically have an agronomist and then a hydrologist.
Yeah.
A person that their expertise is the flow of water, the dynamics of hydrology. Whereas an agronomist works, primarily on, the crop practices and things like that. So we'd be right in line, continuing to be right in line with other counties.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's to be able to train something like that. And my concern is like an intern, how experienced are you going to get an intern unless you go to an LTE and you're getting somebody that is retired that, is looking to further whatever it is, their professional career through an LTE service. Yeah, that, I don't know. That's something that we've never looked at, but I agree with you, but.
That was just my concern.
All right. I think everybody had discussion, so let's call the vote. All in favor of the motion to continue as we are until necessary.
Until Tuesday.
Until Tuesday.
What's this coming?
All in favor of supporting that motion signify by aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes.
And I do want to just say,
Yeah,
you
Is
hear what I'm
is
saying.
that an aye nay?
Yeah.
Is that an aye nay or a nay? No.
Well, yeah. No, it's a valid
It's a
point.
very
Yeah.
valid point.
No,
So
I-
it just is.
We can start,
a
it's,
tough
in
decision.
what
I
we
struggle
can
with
do-
it all the way around the building
I
there, because it's,
And I understand that.
Yeah.
And obviously as a director, you're very defensive
Yeah.
of your team.
sure.
But
Oh,
at the
yeah.
same time, we can start investigating,
Right.
LTEs and just see, talk to other agencies and things like that. If they're aware of anybody that
Mhm.
does that type of work.
Right. Yep.
I mean, I don't think we're,
What's that?
Doesn't come out of-
I did ask him.
I tried.
I did ask him. As he sat there, he said,
Yeah.
no way.
I don't think with the financial
He's-
thing,
He's
we're
seen the other
unique.
side.
There's gotta be other counties that are facing the same dilemma. They've got more services than they can afford,
Oh, yeah.
or they provide more than what,
You say that, but I'm shocked that it's all we're seeing right now from WCCA is people hiring for interns, hiring for, apprentices and hiring for, new positions. And it's like, where are these guys getting the money?
And it really, I mean, I was talking to Wisconsin Land and Water Director, about it. We had a discussion about this too, and like, there's got to be other counties in this position too, right? And he's like, no, not really.
Some counties are borrowing.
So I
that's
don't know what their
most of the
financials look like.
Two
Yeah.
are in the same boat.
Yeah,
as we
really?
are,
They are.
so-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is nothing unique. I know.
It's
I
just-
mean, Marquette County has a much smaller budget than we do. I believe they, their original budget proposal was 1.6 from their general fund. They reduced that to 1, but they had to make substantial cuts as well from that front. So, other counties utilize short-term borrowing to get some things outside of the levy limit, which with the debt payment that we have, we really don't have that to use as an option for Washera County. So, there are tools and tricks to, try to, stay within that limited, threshold that we have. But we've utilized many of them already. So most are already hitting that same boat. But, when you look at the budget countywide, one example is vacant positions used to be budgeted at 100%. Well, we look at, okay, well, we know there's a vacancy rate in this department, so we only budget salaries and benefits at 93% instead of at 100. We've started doing those things several years ago. And so where some other counties are maybe starting to do those now to get some of that wiggle
A
room.
little ahead.
We've
On
already
paper.
utilized a lot of those, vacant position instead of budgeting at 100%, full family insurance plan. We started budgeting at a, employee spouse, so middle of the road instead of the top of the line. So we've already eaten into some of that, where we were seeing those larger returns at the end of the year because we used to budget everything at 100%. We've seen some of those, or we've already utilized some of those tools. And so that's where some of our returns are now getting less, going back to the general fund.
Any
So another-
neighboring counties interested in doing a shared position?
That's, part of the thought too.
Yeah. I don't know. Never investigated it.
But if other
Maybe
counties are
I
having
mean-
issues,
Marquette, Green Lake, and Wapaka, even Portage, those 3, I wouldn't see them doing anything like that. They're pretty okay there, it seems like.
Marquette, it wasn't Marquette the one. that
1.6.
had
I mean,
trouble
maybe,
funding?
but as far as their land conservation department, they're kind of different. They got, I don't know how but they got, so it's Pat through do. So they got 3, 4. They have an administrative
They have-
assistant.
No, they do.
They have
not.
3.
They have 3 FTEs there, and they also do their mowing for their parks and facilities as well. So they also manage their parks with their 3 that they have.
I was gonna say, you can get another guy, but you're gonna be walking to your jobs from office. No trucks.
They
No.
get but that's like their department is those 3, so they get 170-50 for their staffing
Sure.
too, where we have Todd.
Yeah.
So he counts as
Yeah.
right. But as far as the top 3 positions, so
Sure.
one of those number 2 position is Todd.
Mhm.
Where we don't have our tech and agronomist under there because
Sure.
so yeah.
Well, I guess I would just say, I mean, the results is good for you, but I
No,
would
I-
keep
I-
looking though. I mean, I would just
absolutely.
keep exploring.
Right.
'cause
Absolutely.
There are
it-
all
it's-
options open.
Yeah,
Yep.
we may be forced to do
I'm
something.
telling you, I got to just buy one of those yellow little blow up guys that
There you go.
stands out. We're having sale on land use
Yeah,
permits.
exactly, yeah.
What about,
Get one.
That's it. 10% off all conservation practices.
You guys can come up, Lacey.
Okay, we'll be right there.
Lacey.
Okay. Anything on? Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
That would be his job.
Yep. I know. I was just. Wait a minute. I'm like, is there anything? Is in addition to the LTE, is there anything else you all want from us that?
just explore all options?
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess that's
Will
just
do.
it, yeah.
Yeah, I think having conversations with neighboring counties to
Yep.
see if that's
Mhm.
an option.
And
And
as
maybe-
much as we
and-
don't want to.
No, and maybe talk to the Foxwoods Watershed to see if they have some ideas just in terms of an LTE position, that type of thing.
There's some things you can do that with, and some things like a 4-H agent, for
Right.
instance, you can't hardly have a. I know I've heard some counties doing something like that. And how does that work? How do you be, when your kids are here? How do you do that? Well, that's the same with certain things. Maybe there's things we can do shared.
We
and other things
did
we
have
can't,
on the steering committee at Foxwoods Watershed, there was a gentleman there, ex-engineer, and maybe that's something I can talk to Jessica about.
Yeah.
See if she's aware of anybody that, had the hydrology background that
Mhm.
that the one thing that always though concerns me is just having somebody available on the fly.
Yeah.
Well, that might be what we do.
local.
That might
But
be what we take away.
Yeah.
I mean, and in fact, the fact of the matter is you might not be able to do that. Maybe
Right.
they're only here a few days a week or
Right.
something. I mean, it is what it is, and if the lakes associations don't like it, they can start kicking
Step
in
up.
monies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
but that might be something easier to stomach than completely taking it away.
Exactly.
Like,
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
our availability till these 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like getting my mail only a couple.
But we
days a
have
week.
till doomsday.
Yes, we have to do it today. That's clearly in the motion there.
When did that change?
Because it's AI picked up it's going to generate the summaries in minutes
my
for it. So
Boy,
just imagine what it's going to say.
Thank you all.
All right, good
Thank
luck.
you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Robert, I'm down now.
I'll be there.
I don't do this.
Have I seen the resolution that came from Vilas County when they were asking the state if they could possibly levy some of their own property taxes?
Completely spaced out.
And it was like,
It came out 2 months ago.
Did they? I don't know. They send a lot. So
Yeah,
don't
I mean, I
know.
tried to at least police through
You're
there.
good.
Is that something I ought to consider?
I don't know.
Because we seem like we're getting squeezed from every
I
possible
think you have
angle.
to have a referendum for that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they had to, I think what they did is say, let's see if I can find that for you.
Yeah.
It was a resolution
Yeah.
that asked if they could,
I
it
think
wasn't a lot, it was like 3.5% or something.
I think all you could do is add on to
Yes.
what the state
But
says.
they had to ask for the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, 'cause I think what happened was that
like a line.
and being a municipal clerk, we used to get personal property and it used to come to the township.
Yeah.
The state took that over, but they said, don't worry, we'll replace it for you.
Yeah, right.
Here's Vilas County, their big thing is tourism, right? So they've got places that have all these snowmobiles that they rent out.
Yeah.
And so that's all personal property that they used to get an income from, and now the state's taking it, and if they didn't replace it, now they're in a pinch, probably worse than us.
Yeah.
It's just
I know. Well, and I think, like you said, we got to look at every avenue now. I mean, I guess
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
getting to that point where.
know what you're saying about yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good.
You're not gonna get the snowmobile. You're gonna have to ice skate.
Yeah.
What it sounds like, and I'm not looking forward to that at all.
How many more trees?
My branches are just every time I
I was thinking of raking my yard, and I'm like, screw it, I gotta wait.
All the weed branches from all the way.
Yeah.
She needs to send out a notice.
Oh, how much are we supposed to get for ice? They say.
Did it say a half inch?
Quarter
Oh,
to a
God.
half.
Nice
slop.
Glad you bought a generator.
Yeah. Right.
Good point.
Yeah.
Does it run?
Yeah.
Check it out today, Tom. Yeah. Yeah, we know.
And about the time you think that it's
Yeah,
going
it's-
to
Is that a generator?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it just, it tests itself
Oh,
every
it
week
does
on
it now.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know, it's probably doing it right now. I'm just kidding.
Because all those people that invested in those that had to actually manually go out and start it up every week.
Yeah.
When they need it, then it's
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
All right, written educator reports.
You received them all in your packet, but,
Yep.
and you know that one of our team is out on paternity leave right now. So, his report is also included though, because he is back, he comes in intermittently.
Okay.
So he did share something with y'all, but Emily and Tim are here, so if you have questions, if they have highlights, I'd like to share that.
I
You're
have a couple
first in the
highlights.
packet,
but-
so you-
Okay, I'll go first. So I've got all mine in there, of course, that you could see. Just wanted to make a few highlights. The social capital project. There's a really strong connection to some drug prevention work that I've been tasked with facilitating and leading. I think Megan had gotten some interest from Jesse Urban about doing some work around drug prevention and collaboration around that. And so I'm going to be starting that up. The Washington County Committee restructure, I'm still waiting for the statewide data from the UW. Students and such are on spring break this week, so there's a hold up on that, of course.
Mhm.
Who wants to do that from Florida, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
The comprehensive land use planning, Town of Mount Morris, the survey closed yesterday. I just grabbed the data today and cleaned it a little bit, and we're going to be putting that together for the town to continue with their updates to their comprehensive land use plan. The community economic assessment, we're drafting the report currently. I'm working with the state on that to get that done. The strategic planning, all the plans are available now on the county website. We'll actually bring ours up to here and talk about it in a little bit. But the child support department, I've been working with them. I've also got interest from DA, court counsel, victim witness to look at theirs and help them out a little bit with that. And I'm also meeting on a regular basis with several department heads just to help them in how do you continue the process? How do you iterate your changes and do those types of things? And then finally, I wanted to highlight in the extras way at the back of the packet, the REV program. You may have seen the there was an article, I think it was in the Argus, that was posted about the REV program. The villages of Hancock and Plainfield have joined over there on the western end of the county to do some work around REV stands for Rural Entrepreneurial Venture. We're trying to get people who have that entrepreneur spirit to build businesses and do those kinds of things. And so they're working together with the UW on that. And I just want to highlight that because that's one of the huge value addeds that we get here in the county because of Washington County's partnership in community development with the UW. Because of that, you will get Washington County gets what do you call it, like a not preference, but like it works because you're already partnering with community development, and so it's a huge value added for us on the western end of the county in the 39 corridor. Those are the highlights I wanted to make. Any questions from anyone?
No, I'll just say I was at the Town of Mount Morris meeting and they highlighted that you've been very helpful for them. So
Good.
that's good to hear. Thank you.
A constituent asked, why doesn't our county board have a strategic plan?
I can't answer that.
My kind of answer was,
We did come up with, a start of one, but the list we didn't
Yeah.
take the time to do. That's
Yeah.
all we got further we got with it. So
The board led the way with the mission, the
Yep.
vision, and the values,
Yeah.
and then gave that, and then handed that to the departments from there to build a plan that was actionable based on those things. And
Yeah.
so,
right.
that's kind of what I said. My feeling is that we are kind of bound by the strategic plans of the county as a whole.
Right.
And so we're, operating within that.
Right.
So, but yeah, I thought I'd throw it out there for you.
and Megan might have a better answer than I do on that too. I don't know.
Emily?
Okay, so some of the different highlights I wanted to go over with you guys is I've mainly been doing a lot of relationship building. So I've gone to 3 different club meetings. I've also done some of the different project leader meetings. So shooting sports, dog obedience, just kind of getting to know people and see what they need from me. I also sent out a survey recently to all my leaders that is asking them for what they would like to see for trainings and that. So it'll help kind of guide me with my educational aspects and their trainings. We also had Project Discovery Days on March 7th. We had about 20 kids show up. We had a couple volunteers talk about first aid, stopping the bleed. We did a community service project where I led that, and we made snuffle mats for the Humane Society. So they tied a bunch of fleece to different mats, and then you sprinkle your dog's treats on it, and the dogs get to snuff around on them. So they really enjoyed doing that, and the Humane Society was very happy to receive those. They did a STEM challenge where they made catapults. We looked at making some edible cookie dough and frosting cookies. And then we had 2 graduated 4-H members come back and do a talk on animal nutrition for educational points. Some of the future programming I have going on right now, we have the 5-county 4-H summer camp coming up in June. That is Juneau County, Adams County, Green Lake, Waushara, and Marquette. And that's here in Watoma that we do that at Camp Lakota. And then we have a summer day camp that we're going to do in July. And then Adam and I are also going to be doing the Rural Safety Days on May 8th at the Hancock Research Center, talking about chemical safety. And that's all 4th graders from all over. That's all I've got for you.
Are you involved with any of the requirements for like the animal livestock sale and things like that? Because they have educational requirements.
Right.
I know Adam has taken some of that on, but I don't know if
Yep. So that was what the animal science education.
that's what made me
that
think
was
of
one
it.
of them.
That was
yes.
one of the things they could check off.
Yep. So there's a couple different ones that
Sure.
are at the different 4-H events. Otherwise, we try to also support like Adam or other extension and sending them that way too.
I think you'll see in Adam's report that there are several.
Yep.
children's
Swine
clubs.
one's coming up.
I see that.
Coming up in
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
One in Adams, and then one up in 4-H County.
It's nice to have those available because I know families are struggling to get,
Yeah.
because what do they need? 2 or 3?
3.
3. And it, I mean, sometimes you can do some of the stuff online, but it's nice if they can do it,
Yeah.
hands-on kind of
Yeah,
stuff
so we learn a lot more.
for sure. Mhm.
Any other questions?
All right.
Okay.
Yep, so I'll go on to the extension director report. As far as extension updates right now, I mean, there's not a lot of new different things happening with the Dean of Extension. He continues to work within UW-Madison's with our guidance and direction from the chancellor. But we also did just host, Extension did those AI forums across the state.
Yeah.
3 of the 4 happened already, and there's a 4th one, I think, coming up in Eau Claire. They've been well received. County, I don't know if anybody from this,
Actually, if I could.
Yeah.
Oshkosh got canceled because of the blizzard.
okay.
So they're doing Oshkosh April 22nd. So if any of you are interested, they're still doing Oshkosh.
Don't you have to enroll in that?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that the one that had AI 101?
Yes.
Mhm.
If you want the information, we could send the
Absolutely.
registration contacts to all of you.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, it's fine to do that.
And I believe it's AIU specific to local government and
Yep.
county government, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So it's right in within your roles. Yeah.
If you are like so not comfortable with AI, they have the 101, which will give you just the basics.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you've been dabbling in it a little bit and you've exposed to it and you'd like a little bit more advanced, you can do 201. I know Barry was going to participate, Barry West from our county
Mhm.
here.
And that's really good because I was at a conference and they were talking about that for cybersecurity, using AI for cybersecurity. And like they said, in a lot of cases, like if someone would attack something at the courthouse, it might take up to 2 weeks to figure out that somebody's in there doing stuff. With AI, it's almost instantaneous. And they're seeing that's coming from Eastern Europe or wherever it's coming from, and they can get in there and stop it faster. So there's a lot of application, but that software is expensive too. So you got to be kind of careful what you're doing there too.
So
But
many things to sort.
there is so much, yeah.
And I know it's going to be an ongoing thing. The
Mhm.
University of Wisconsin is adding a whole department
Mm.
around AI. They're expanding their current computer one into a new department so folks can do that. So
Mhm.
it will be something that we will continue to use, that Wisconsin idea of getting information out to people in the counties.
Nice.
And Tim I've been having trouble with his name today. Tim is also part of an AI cohort, so that he might become a trainer. We're just
Nice.
expanding his
That's good.
horizons,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep, just finished it up actually, so we'll see what they have next for us. Yep.
So that's good. So that'd be the update. Update on staffing. Thank you, Sarah, for being part of our interview, and good news. She said yes.
Awesome.
She will start April 20th, and she has chosen to use the Green Lake office because that's a little bit closer to her home. But again, like Adam Hartfield, she will maybe be at that space most of the time, but she will be reaching out to all of the counties that are part of this regional model. So brings a lot of information, resources and background in a lot of different spaces around agronomy and plants and research. And so we're excited to have Karen Bender joining us.
Good,
on
she's
20.
Good, boy, that's nice, yeah.
Mhm.
Just timely this year.
She, I enthusiastic. I
Yeah.
think she'll be good. I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, she did a good
She
job.
blew us all away with her presentation.
It was interactive, believe it or not. And it was really, really good. So
We were all ready for a PowerPoint and it didn't happen.
yeah.
So that's good. So that's what I have for you in that. I don't think we have any unfinished business. And then what's on new business?
Information possible action drainage report now.
Strategic plan,
Okay,
Pat,
we're good.
do you want to do that?
That's
Or is that
there too.
later?
Well, we've got
That
three.
sounds.
Oh, never
We
mind,
have
sorry.
drainage board, and then we have
My bad.
strategic plan and our financial update. So how many of you remember drainage board discussions in the past?
Yeah.
And so it's that time of year where we ask you all for nominations to be on the drain, that we would then send on to the judge, and they would appoint someone from that list of three. Lacey has the list there.
I do.
So tell me what the road, who's coming off? Gary Waleko?
Yes, is coming off in
And you can't
2026.
go up for another term.
No, he could.
I don't know.
There's no limit.
Oh,
on
there
how-
are term
no.
limits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who else is on there?
Ryan Blako, Joe Meyer, CJ Young was last year.
Ryan's not on anymore.
But-
don't they?
Or
Oh,
the
But
current
who are
ones.
the current ones not serving?
Maybe the-
Alan, CJ Young, and William Young.
CG Young and William, right? Yeah, Alan's the secretary.
Yep.
Yeah, neighbors.
Yeah, yeah.
So Gary Waleko's position is expiring as of the middle of this year. So then you need to come up with three names that would be eligible for the position, and then the judge reviews those.
I would nominate Gary again. If you can. Or Ryan, I mean, two would be.
I don't really know people out in that area, so I'm
No.
out of luck.
You may know some out there, Tom.
Do you
I know the Youngs.
Yeah. And they're-
CJ just lives around the corner from us.
Right,
Bill's around the other corner.
sure.
I don't know Gary though.
Yeah, Gary, I would recommend Gary. He's
Mhm.
he's a good guy there.
I'm trying to remember who was on the list last year.
Joe Meyer.
But Joe's not on the board right now.
Correct.
I would recommend him as well. Because he farms in that land. Not like a sand people. We gotta add water. We gotta take water away over there.
Do you understand what a drainage board does? Did you read new?
Yeah.
By statute,
They
Wisconsin.
maintain ditches and culverts and things like that to keep water from accumulating in places where it probably shouldn't.
Very nice.
Hey, that's like the official definition.
Is it really?
No, I don't know. I'm just, it sounds really good.
Put it
I
until
have no
doomsday
idea
in
what
there.
drainage is.
That's Afro Tuesday.
I don't
Until
think
doom-
I know what
Until
drainage is.
doomsday.
That's Tuesday.
Yeah, until Tuesday.
I know those guys and talk to them and stuff. And
No, it's just that this was your first time on this committee and I didn't want us to be talking about something that you had no, because there was one time when I first started in this role and you were like, drainage board, what's that?
Yeah.
So we had to.
that was just a wild guess.
Kind of a funny way to name it. We've talked about that before too. We recommend and then the judge decides.
And it's part of Wisconsin statute,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
this is one method is that you all can recommend three names
Mhm.
and then the judge picks one of them. So we got three.
I have Gary and Joe.
Ryan was the other
And
one.
Ryan Waleko.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we put him in too.
Okay. So I think you need to move a motion that those would be the names. that are
Entertain a
nominated.
motion for those three names.
Oh, so move.
Motion second,
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Strategic plan update.
Okay, Lacey's gonna project what's on the website right now for you.
Oh,
That's it.
it's not letting me click on it. There we go. Sorry.
Perfect. So last month, we did give you our one pager, but what we wanted to do today after our meeting, we always have our staff meeting after this meeting, so at the beginning of March, we met. And so if you go to page 10, this is not in your packet.
She goes to page
Yeah,
10.
she goes to page 10. And then if you all want to look at this later, it is on the Washera County website.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So just so you can see here, the bullets under the strategy, go up a little bit, Lacey, to what the goal is. So our goal is we will increase awareness of UW Extension and what we provide from a 27% to a 35% by the fair. And we use that parameter because they did a survey at the 25 fair. And so they'll do a survey at the 26 fair and hope that our numbers increase. So and then that would align with the goals or the pillars of service and team and go down. And so what we did last time is what you'll see, and I think you'll notice if you're on other committees, is that there were dates set forward when we planned initially. And then we were like, okay, well, we didn't get to it right away. So then we modified them. But as you can tell, then we listed our folks. So we're, Lacey's in the process. She looked into what could we offer as something as a gift to people who participate. Tim was looking at events and organizations that we could create a comprehensive list. And then at our March Luli date today, which is last month, we talked about which staff members could make a scheduled event and report back to me. So one of the scheduled events that we've reported back to me is that we will be going to Blue Ribbon Kids Day on April 11th as a means of getting information out to the public. In the meantime, Emily learned that a 4-H club is also going to be there with some ambassadors. So we'll be able to expose ourselves to the people of the county there. Moving on then, we will solicit testimonials. So those are always good for us to have to report back to you that, hey, this went well. You already gave a couple testimonials from the Mount Morristown board on work that Tim's been doing.
Right.
Okay, so we'll be compiling those things and keeping those in we'll use them in our brochures and programs, et cetera. And team, if there's anything you want to add, please do. So UW Extension Specialist is Lacey. So she's been compiling those in the folder for us. So that work is in the process. You can go ahead. We will be creating a Did You Know brochure, or several of them, depending on who we share them with. And then those partners that we share them with will be folks that will get those Did You Know brochures. Because one thing we learned from our strategic planning team was that they're like, oh, you do that? Really? You know, and so it was like, yeah, we do. And so that's been good to throw that out. We all get emails from I get a lot of emails from each of the institutes that these folks represent. Lacey gets emails. Lacey brings a lot of that stuff to the forefront in our social media posts, but things that you might not be expecting. We don't have anybody in human development and relationships, but we do still have the opportunity to advertise programs that are virtual for people that want to learn about planning ahead. How are they going to retire and spend their money? So that will contribute to the Did You Know. ODS stands for Office of Digital Solutions under the Strategy 1.3. So we've done that. And Lacey is already in the process and knows that her social media is being contacted this many times. What other things have you learned about counters?
Our webpage, we have a specific one for Washera County on what people are clicking on, what pages they're going on. So we're able to see an increase in that and what content is interesting to people. Also our social media, just people are clicking. We're using a program called Emma for newsletters, and it's really a neat because I get feedback on who's opening them, what they're clicking on, their information, age, gender, whatnot that you want to know. So it's just a lot of cool data that you can see on who you're reaching.
And what's successful.
Right, correct.
And a lot of this has been happening since our new team team members have joined us, so it's been exciting.
Yes.
Okay. Social media marketing, again, we've already spoken about that a little bit. Going on then to our second goal, which will address the pillars of team and service. We'll add 2 mutually beneficial partnerships by the end of 26. We've got some time to work on this, so we're still going. However, Tim got asked by partners to do something with, this came to my mind as I was reviewing this for today, the drug prevention work, right? So you'll be partnering with the health department, the human services department, and EMS.
That's the starting.
That's the starting
It'll
point.
likely be far greater than that. Yes.
So that's just one example of ways that we'll be able to report back to the successes that we're having in that particular strategy. So we're evaluating current partnerships. So when we put together our budget each year, Megan and Sarah ask the departments to give them a list of partners that you currently work with. So we're going to be looking at that list now from 25 and see who we'd want to reach out to and do more with in 26. That's a comprehensive list of past partners. And then we'll each as staff members look at reconnecting with those people as they seem, like maybe they are an organization that doesn't exist anymore. Maybe there's a new one. And then if we look down here at the beneficial, what does beneficial mean for people? We'll be discussing that between now and our May 1st meeting of our staff. But then people that we could reach out to, again, I'm not going to read all of this to you, but I just wanted you to see that we are checking things off. Our next goals, we will address service, finance, and team. And we'll look for responses. So this is the one that's related to that memorandum of understanding. In that document, it asks for us to do a listening session. So although we did work with a strategic team, which was small, we would like to go to that next level of doing that listening session. So I anticipated our next meeting of the Louis Committee that will be sharing with you, like, this is what we'd like to use as the date for that meeting. These are some people we'd like to invite. Do you have other people that you'd like us to invite? And these are the questions we would ask. It's an open forum for people to communicate and share out what are their concerns, what do they think the needs are of Waushara County related to what we could do. Okay, so that'll be coming up. And then we'll try to get that finished up by like the 31st or the August 31st date. And then we'll have a document that's probably using AI to strategize. How does it fit the needs that we've identified in the strategic plan? How do those things align with community development, positive youth development, and ag, and move forward from there. And then have that compiled document. And then I think we have one more goal, don't we? Yes. So we would partner with another county department to provide educational, maybe I spoke too soon on that. Sorry, Tim. This is the one I was thinking about with the drug because of the health and safety for our community. But again, today we'll talk about that some more at our staff meetings. So you kind of get the idea of how this works. I don't know if anybody shared with you before, but that's kind of how we anticipate. Tim, anything you want to add? He has done the lion's share of this development of this document and the strategies. And so hats off to him.
No, I don't have anything to add really. Just that it's always going to be changing and we're going to be making progress. And it's kind of, maybe I'm a little nerdy, but it's just kind of neat to be able to have like these goals that you're always working towards. We want to do better, right? So, yeah.
Do you find your strategic plan, do you think it's going to be something that you really, as a working document that you honestly pull out to use for different things? Like
Yes.
when we bring new people on and stuff like that,
Yeah.
do you see that as something
Yes.
you will answer? Because I've asked different people and some say no, and some say they will. So,
If there was going to be one, it better be Tim.
well, I know. That's the right answer. But I mean, we don't, it's one thing to say it, and another thing to really use it too.
One of the things that were identified by our cohort that got together and talked about extension, and we were surprised at some points. We're like, well, people don't really know what you do, and we're like, huh?
Yeah.
Because we work so hard at that all the time,
Yes.
promoting it, newspaper, website. But if people don't, then we need to do a better job of that. And then I think that as we do the needs assessment with the listening session, that we'll even add more things that will align, and then we'll have to figure out how that fits into the strategic plan moving forward.
I think the nice thing about this is that you're right. That, we feel like we've always worked hard on the outreach and stuff, but this actually gives us like the actual, let's do this next and try this thing.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, okay, we've learned it doesn't work. And then you do something different. And I think that's what this sort of gives you, is a structure to actually make it happen.
Nerd metric guys.
Yuppers.
How do you know if it was, right? Unless we're paying attention.
So then finally, the last thing that we wanted to share today, as a part of the department meetings, we were instructed that we should be giving a quarterly report. Our department is not a huge department, but and so we spend money slowly at some points. So if you look at this document, it will show you on the far right-hand column, the percent that's been used to date. A little bit of an anomaly here is that we list salary and whatnot. Lacey's position was rolled into the contract, so they're still in the process of getting Tyler Munis updated. We know the money's there. We know it will work. It's just, if you looked at another department's budget right now, you would see that there was money being taken out already for salaries and already for the sick leave or whatever. But because it's in the state contract, that bill comes about end of April, early middle of May. So we pay it then. We pay one chunk in 6 months and then the last chunk at the last 6 months. So that is a little bit confusing if you understand what I'm trying to describe to you.
Yep.
Okay. And I did talk to Megan about that because I had a budget meeting with her already. And she said they're going to get that updated. It just, there's a lot of things to do. We know the money's in the budget, we know where it's going to get adjusted to.
Yeah.
Okay. And otherwise we're on task. A couple of things have already, have a little bit higher spend because they were budgeted for in the first quarter of the year. Any questions on where we're at?
Too bad that 2% couldn't hold out through the year. Excellent. Any questions? Any suggestions for future agenda items?
We would just have that next time we would look at the date for the details for the listening session. Okay. Otherwise, I don't have anything.
Right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We're adjourned then.
Alrighty. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be safe
Thank
this
you.
week.
Thank you, John, for getting it started.
That's okay. I was glad you were coming. I thought, no, you wouldn't have forgotten. Because I said, normally you're here by the time I get here.
Yeah, it's just one of those perfect storms.